Hello and welcome round to my house. Now, today's show is going to be a bit different to normal. I'll be joined by an icon of the Northern Irish food scene. One of the country's most exciting young chefs will be here, and I'll be cooking for a Pussycat doll and a Dancing on Ice star, who'll also be cooking for me. So what are we doing out here? Let's get inside and let's get cooking.
Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we got lined up for you today. I'll be joined throughout the morning by the Pussycat doll turned Dancing on Ice star. Kimberly Wyatt will be here. And she's cooking for me as well. And I'll be taking a trip to Burr Island in Devon on another one of my food adventures. We have top chefs Paul Rankin and Matt Gillan are here. They're going to be sharing some recipes of their own. And don't miss this week's Little Masterclass, where I'll be teaching you everything you ever wanted to know. In fact, I'll be doing 4 dishes out of the humble potato. But we're kicking things off with a fantastic recipe for fish that, with the help of my glamorous assistant, the fabulous Alysia Vasey. Great to have you back. Wonderful to have you at the house. So we're going to talk about, tell me about this sea buckthorn in a minute, but I thought I'd do a wonderful little place dish, little goujons. So we're going to do place goujons, which are flour, egg and breadcrumbs, and I'm going to make a mayonnaise, and we're going to flavour the mayonnaise, not with lemon, which I conventionally do, but yeah. This is right on point, this ingredient, isn't it, really, now, this sea buckthorn. So tell us about it.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Gosh, I didn't even get a word in edgeways then. It's not like me, is it?
I'm getting the words out first because I know that I'm not going to be able to speak in a minute. There you go.
You're getting ahead of that. Right, OK, so it's pretty manky out there, so...
pretty manky out there?
Well, it is.
Out where? Where do you...
Yonder, out there in the yonder foraging world, right, yeah, because he's not growing, is there?
Right.
All right, OK, so I'm having to sort of, like, magic it up, but... Do you know what? One of the really good things, and it's January, so we've got Christmas behind us, and we're looking at, like, we're all on this health drive, and this is one of the most amazing things, and it grows on the coast, and it grows all over the coast, all over the country. And
it goes all over the world as well, this stuff.
It does, right, yeah. So this is like one of the biggest growing exports in India because this is something that they're really investing in, and it's giving people opportunities to sort of like have those like micro businesses and earn a good living from it because it fetches really good money. So this can go all around the world.
So where would they be grown in India? I mean...
Himalayas, you know, right. This can grow at altitude. It's as tough as boots. I mean... We use it in the country for, like, coastal erosion, so it's something that will absolutely get everywhere. So, but it's not at its best, but the thing is that the berries, they'll just cling on for dear life, you know, they'll cling on for dear life all through January, through February, so they might be a bit mushy, but it doesn't matter, it's good stuff.
Right, okay.
It's just, because it's quite expensive to sort of, like, buy in, like, you know, like tinctures and, like, things. So go and get your own.
Now, I've seen this, like you're saying, on coastlines, but I'm assuming it doesn't just grow on coastlines in the UK, does it?
Well, the thing is, it does kind of like, it's sea buckthorn, and the clue's in the word sea.
Yeah, and I guess that, but I've seen it. I guess that, but I've seen it elsewhere. I've seen it.
Yeah, it does grow elsewhere. And I'm just saying it grows up in Himalayas, right? Yeah. You're going to stick it in your garden and make a hedge out of it, right? Yeah, fine. But it's sea buckthorn. It's for coastal erosion, and I mean, this is nice. I mean,
so where do you pick yours from then? Where's this from?
Right, OK. So I got my my friend Bernice to pick this, right? Because it is nasty stuff. The thing is, right, it's lovely.
You're selling it, it's nasty stuff, but it's nasty stuff to pick.
Yeah, but I always say it, I tell the truth, right, yeah, and then it's a bit like when they said, you know, men wanted, you're probably not going to come back from North Pole, you know, everybody flocked, don't they? So it's better to be honest. Right? So it's got these really long spikes on it, and I mean, it's just designed really just to sort of like infect you with like fungal spores and nastiness, and it's awful to pick. You know, it's awful to strip off because it's just horrible. And they don't look at that; it don't shake off.
So, like you say, clinging on to dear life. So, what colour is that when it's in the summer? Or they produce berries all year round?
No, this is proper winter stuff, right? Yeah, so it's really good for the birds as well. So, like when they're making their migratory journeys, and they do sort of like a last service stop off on motorway, you know, like just before they head out off across the sea, this is what they're going to eat because it's absolutely super. this is full of like, you know, so all those vitamins and minerals and everything like that. But it's like one of those super berries. And I know that's a really trendy word, but this is something that really is. It's so good for you. And the other thing is as well, is like, it's sour, okay? So you've got that acidity running through it. So if you're thinking lemon, right, anything with the word lemon in it, recipe-wise, you can just use sea buckthorn instead.
Anything?
Anything.
Wow.
Right,
Okay.
it's acidity. It's sour. You're going to try some in a minute anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, okay. So you, I mean, I mentioned this as a funny thing, but you do supply some of the best chefs in the world, some of the best chefs in the UK as well. You're supplying them as well. Is that what they're looking for? They're looking for this sort of stuff as well?
No, they're looking for everything out of season at the moment.
Are they?
No.
That's the chefs for you, aren't they? Yeah, exactly.
Literally, I got a message yesterday saying, have you got any samphire? I'm like, well, no, because that like ended in September.
Right.
I think they think I make a trip, right? It's the thing is, right, it's, you know, more chefs are going local anyway because it's getting harder to get things in from abroad. You know, I talk to all the like main fruit and veg people. So the more you can stick to local stuff, the more you're going to have like consistency in the menus and the recipes.
It's interesting you're saying that because of, you know, the side effects from the pandemic and everything else.
Yeah.
A lot of chefs in my restaurants getting shorted about 25%. Of an order.
Yeah.
So usually you would be putting the order in. You know, I think at one point, I remember reopening, we couldn't even get lemons at one point.
Yeah, that's right,
It got so ridiculous. So how do you prepare this? Once you get the buckthorn, do you have to do anything with it? Is it, I mean, what are the do's and don'ts with this sort of stuff?
Right, OK, so when you're picking these berries, all right, so the spikes on them, they grow like at a 45-degree angle, but they're not just quite sticking out. So if you start on the thick end and work your way down, you're less likely to get spiked, all right? So the do's and don'ts of this is sort of like, you know, wear big, thick gloves, quite frankly, because it can, you know, give you a nasty infection. But the berries themselves...
Hold on a minute, it can give you an infection.
Yeah, well, I don't really want to risk it. I'm quite good at doing this sort of stuff. That's why I'm not letting you handling it.
Oh, thanks very much.
All right, I'm just protecting your interest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right? Probably my insurance won't cover it either.
But do you have to blanch them, or what do you?
No.
What do you do with it?
Listen. It's a berry, right? Well, now that you're asking, here, take this. All right, now you're going to pull
just
first.
eat it straight off.
Yeah, you just eat it straight off. It doesn't have a seed. It sticks in your mouth and it packs a punch.
Wow.
Yeah. I keep telling you, you look at me like that, right? And I don't bring out that tastes like grass. Right? And every time I do it, you look at me as if to say, oh my God, it's actually got flavour. It's got flavour.
There's a seed in there? Just one seed?
Yeah, minuscule, but it's not to write home about, is it?
But amazing how much
One.
To me, it's like you know when you taste yuzu juice.
Yeah.
It's like bang that flavour.
Have you never tried that before?
Never tried that before in my life.
See, I can see it. Even I can see in your eyes, right? Yeah, it's a bit of a revelation, isn't it?
It's a bit of a revelation. Seriously, I've never tried this, and I wanted to wait until you were here for you to try it. But it's amazing the flavour from it.
Now, do you see what I mean about that lemon thing?
Yeah, very much so. Very citrusy. Yeah, really, really nice.
So you think about it, we didn't have much vitamin C, you know, getting natural vitamin C in the wild, right? This is like one of those things that you can do.
So I'm a little deep frying the little goujons over here. The mayonnaise, we've got egg yolks in here, touch of mustard, like you say, that goes in there.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to blend this with just some veg oil. And the thing about mayonnaise is when you flavour mayonnaise, don't use olive oil and stuff like that. You just use a plain vegetable oil that doesn't taste of anything, because you want the taste of whatever you're going to put in, the sea buckthorn, in there to flavour the mayonnaise, and you want that to be the predominant flavour. You still got to put the mustard in, of course, but just a little bit of this. Be careful with the little goujons. They don't take very long to cook at all, so these are all going to take... There you go, they're in and out. No more than about a minute.
So that just gives you an idea, doesn't it, now, about what that flavour's like, you know, like how to put it, you know, how much to put in.
Do you know, I've never tasted anything... is there anything like that that's out there as well? Is there anything very similar in terms of taste?
Not as like straight bang in your face, sort of like that. Because if you think about it, a lot of berries that I bring in, you know, they've either got big stones in it, or they've got like lots of fluff around it and they're hard to process, or they're really bitter and then they need doing. But that thing, this, you can just literally just eat it like that. You can't, you know, you're not going to eat too much, but I mean, you can like, you know, being a chef, you get that versatility from it, don't you?
Yeah, well, you've made... I mean, normally what happens is our team have got to make cakes. Our team love you as well as I love you, because you bring gifts, you're bearing gifts, not just sea buckthorn in a bush, but you're bringing all this sort of stuff. You've made all this. Explain to us what you've got over here, then.
OK, right. So what I've done then, I was slicing. So starting off, really, I've made a sea buckthorn curd. So
this one over here?
Just take a recipe for, like, lemon curd, right, yeah? Just get rid of all lemon and just stick all your sea buckthorn in it. Just get it in the juice or do your berries. It doesn't really matter what you do. But I also put, like, 1 lemon in as well and a little bit of squeeze of orange and then some, like...
So if I just open this up so you can see...
Taste it, honestly.
I want to taste it, yeah.
All right. It's all right, a sterilised jar and everything. You know I'm not going to poison you.
That looks amazing, doesn't it?
You can't eat all that.
Flavour's amazing.
Yeah.
Flavour's amazing.
Well, you see, so I did some of that, and then I did another jar, and then I put it in with me little... I had some leftover Christmas mix, so I just sort of, like, boiled it up in some rum, right? And then I did my pastries with it, with the sweet herb, with the sea buckthorn curd.
Yep.
Then I thought I'll do a healthy cake recipe if that's possible. So I got a Raymond Blanc one because it had a little bit of butter in it, and then I didn't realise that you needed a bucket of cream. But never mind, eh? So I did like this lemon drizzle cake that he's got on, and then I just swapped it all for sea buckthorn. Then what I did is I made a sea buckthorn glaze. So just boiled up a load of sea buckthorn with a bit of sugar, and I put some gelatine in it. Then it didn't set quite right, so then I just bunged some xanthan gum in it. Right.
So can you cook with it like jam? This?
Yeah, totally. You can make jams. Anything you want to do. I tell you what's really good as well is that acidity as well. So you make your pickles, all right? It gives everything a lift because the berries, you know, they just give everything a lift. So if you want to put it in some muffins, you know, just take the berries off and literally put them in the muffins. Don't blanch them, just put them in.
Now, moving away from this, how did you first start off doing this for a living? How did you go from doing what you were doing? Because you were... Well, tell everybody what you were before.
All right, OK. So back in the day... All right, I used to be, I was in the Navy, I was an aircraft engineer working on Mark 5 and 6 Sea King helicopters. I was airframes and engines.
I love this. So how do you go from that to foraging?
But do you know what, right, the thing is that I've said my family has always done foraging, but this is before it was trendy, you know. This is like, you know, sort of like when TV chefs were on, you know, and it's like, we've got cranberries, you know, and they also sell out. We used to do all sorts of stuff. We just, you know, it's just, it didn't mean anything at the time. Right. All that knowledge that we had as a family, you know.
Partly because where you were brought up, or? Yeah,
well, you know, my granddad was Polish, and him and his brother, they had to survive in a forest in World War II on the run from the Nazis. He was a train driver. Well, his dad was a train driver, and they were apprentices. And they lived in this place called Poznan in Poland. And what happened was they started off doing those extermination camps, the practice gas chambers. And my granddad and my brother, they were like teenagers at the time. They used to stop the carts and like try and let people out, or at least give them water. They had 5 days when they got there. Anyway, they got found out. My great-granddad was shot. My granddad and his brother, my Uncle Ted, they had to run off into forest. They got caught, but they were on this cattle truck, and there was a big fight going on with some German who wanted a fur coat that the farmer had, come to a stop, and that's when they escaped into the forest. But they never stopped trying to track them down. But my granddad met up with some people from school, and they formed part of the Polish Intelligista. OK, the Warsaw Uprising. So, and it's all documented as well, because, like, I can't speak Polish, right, but somebody looked into it and, like, you know, did all gubbins, you know, behind it. And that was the base of, like, my granddad come over here. He worked in a carpet factory all his life. He provided for his family, but he took us out foraging because he thought it came in for him and it was important because it let him survive. So... You know, that's what we started.
You have got an amazing story. You really are, and you are full of amazing stories. And can I just say, I've never tasted this stuff before. I urge you to go out. This is amazing. And what this is, so you can buy it in its form like this, that you can drink it.
Well, you've had it fresh now off here, so
that is incredible. This is sort of diluted a little bit. It's not as...
No good looking at me. Just taste it.
You know. It's there, but not like that.
It's not as good as that, is it?
No.
No, I think it's because it's like pasteurised, you know, like to sort of like have a long shelf life. Your face.
No, do you know what I mean? It's there, and I get the...
Yeah. But that's the thing, right, with freshness, isn't it? You know, like when you get things yourself, and this is the thing, it's like transferring the flavour. So this flavour transferred to that, transferred to this. When you use something as natural as possible, that's where you get all the benefits from it, isn't it?
So give us the do's and don'ts. If they want to go out and try and get some of this, give us the do's and don'ts of foraging, the classic foraging do's and don'ts.
OK, so strong green sacks, right, treble your gloves up because this stuff is shockingly bad. It really is bad for spiking you, and you can get fungal infections from that, really bad ones. So treble gloves, all right, good secateurs. Go out, you can start getting the berries about October time and they'll stay on the branches till about February, even up to March. It's only when they go completely manky, you know. I mean, these they don't fall off, they just disintegrate. So at some point, you know, the weather, I mean, that's had frosts on it, it's already had snow on it. So at some point it will disintegrate and then there'll be nothing left. OK, so it's not a bad thing to go and do, but over winter foraging, it's abundant. I mean, you look at how many berries are on that. It's absolutely, it's prolific.
Honestly, I have to say, and I've just finished off the little goujons over here with this sea buckthorn mayonnaise. So you just put plenty of this juice in there.
Yeah.
And the kick that it gives you, it's a really acidic kick. But you've got goujons, you dip the goujons in the mayonnaise, and it'll taste something like you've never tasted before. That stuff is amazing. It's as amazing as you are. So thank you very much for coming on the show as well. Alysia Vasey, everybody. Thank you, boss.
Thank you.
Alysia, there you have it.
Oh, thank you.
Do you know what? I'm sat there, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, that's going on my restaurant menu. This, I mean, I've never tasted, have a taste of these. I've never tasted anything like this.
Gosh, I really don't think you've done enough. I mean, you've only done like 5 place fillets, haven't you? I'm really glad you like. Honestly, I just get such a thrill, you know, from like chefs when I bring them something new, and you've got that chef look face, you know, like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Kid in a sweet shop. That's what it is. It is a kid in a sweet shop because the taste, it's really weird. Yeah, but you get so much background flavour from it as well. But that's amazing. That curd that you've got there, that's amazing. Really, really special. Happy with that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
for coming.
really nice, that is.
Right, still to come, we've got dishes from chefs Paul Rankin and Matt Gillan, and I'll be chatting to Dancing on Ice star Kimberly Wyatt. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, Alysia and I will be here to try and answer some of your culinary questions. I'll see you in a bit. Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to that. Welcome back. Now, I'll be giving you a masterclass in potatoes a little later on in the show. And Kimberly Wyatt will be here from Dancing on Ice, dropping by very shortly to the house. But first, I'm here in the kitchen with top forager. Alysia Vasey is still here. And the two of us are going to have a go at solving some of your kitchen dilemmas. You're quite happy to be here, aren't you? This is going to be fun for you because you like the first question. I've seen you've spotted it on the table.
Yeah, I'm here because you normally crack out wine by now.
Exactly. It's on its way. So we should be joined on the line by Katie. Hi there, Katie.
Hi, James. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, you're based in Essex. You've got an amazing title, a job title. It says here, Head of Quality Assurance at the London College of Contemporary Arts.
Yeah, that's correct.
What does that mean?
I basically make sure that they're all following the rules. So It's nothing exciting. I wish it was a bit more about testing things out and saying, oh, yeah, that's fine. But it is literally, you're doing what you should be doing. Yes, no.
Exactly. All right. Well, obviously a keen cook as well. What question have you got for us?
So my question is how to cook the perfect pork chop. I love pork chops, so do my husband, and they always come out really dry and disgusting. So I want to know how to cook it properly.
Aha. OK, well, the first thing is I'm going to show you a great garnish with the pork chop first, and then we'll get on to how to cook it. So this is one of my favourite things with pork chops. It's peppered cabbage, all right? So what I've got in here is I've just got some water and I've got butter. So water and butter, if you boil it together, it emulsifies and it creates a sauce. Then we take the cabbage. So I've got this is called hispy cabbage, pointed cabbage, but we take the cabbage. You don't have to be too fancy with it. You can just break it up like that. That's all you need. And then you break it all up. And then what you do is you bring the water and the butter to the boil, all right? This is brilliant with the pork chops. One of my favourite things with pork chops is. So bring it to the boil. This is when you add some salt and pepper to it, but plenty of black pepper. Now, normally when you cook cabbage, you cook it in water and then you drain off the water. You don't need to do that with this recipe. You basically pop it all in because it cooks very, very quickly. It's going to cook in about 2 to 3 minutes, no more than that. So as soon as this comes to the boil, see the butter's melting over there, you take the cabbage, pop it in. And then you rapidly cook this now for about 2 minutes, all right? Just occasionally, every now and then, you can take this and start stirring it all together. But what you don't want to be doing is allowing that water to sort of disappear and it frying. So just add a little bit more water if it starts to dry out, but it'll cook there with the butter. And you see very, very quickly it starts to cook. Now, pork chops. You're into my world now here, Katie, because pork chops, I used to be a sort of a pig farmer when I was younger. Pork chops, the reason why it goes dry is always, always the quality of the pork. It is simple as that.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
If you overcook it, that's one, but mainly because the quality of the pork. Now, generally, I'm not generalising everything. Supermarket pork is never, ever as good as a butcher's pork chop. It's as simple as that, OK? So what it is pork. There's different varieties of pork, different breeds of pork. And over the years, they've taken the pork, which was beautiful, and sort of knackered it, technically. And because we all want that perfect rasher of bacon. We all want the perfect loin of pork, which has that perfect round bit of meat and very little fat. It's never like that. When you learn, and particularly on the farm, and you're learning about the quality of the pigs and stuff like that, it's all to do with the quality of ratio between fat and meat, because that's what makes the pork chop really, really special. Pork chops were never designed to do the 100-metre hurdles, and now when you walk around the supermarket, they look as if they do. It's true, though, isn't it?
Oh, my God, yeah, that supermarket thing, you get that long tray of stuff. Like, you know, the 3 for a tenner when you're desperate, and then you get one that looks nice there, one that looks nice there, all stringy rubbish in middle, and then you just end up with squeaky pork.
So your problem is, straight away, get the really good quality pork. Now, you can get it on the internet. There's butchers now that supply it direct to your door. That's as simple as that. Now, look out for the word middle white. Middle white is the classic pork. The purebred middle white, there's very, very few people doing purebred middle whites now. We count it on one hand, probably, in the UK, purebred middle white. That's the best quality pork, which is what I've got on here. Now, there are other porks like Mangalista, which is the hairy pig, which is amazing. So, but I think the middle whites over here, very, very famous these were in the Second World War, because you wanted that fat as well.
Yeah.
But you've got this amazing ratio of fat to meat. You see that? On there. Now, I always cook it on a tray, rather than on a griddle or a griddle pan. I always cook it on a tray, but make sure the tray's quite firm. Make sure it doesn't buckle. Then we take salt and put it on the fat part predominantly. You still season it, but cook it all the way through on the tray. So don't put it on one of those griddle trays that you cook your bacon from, turn it all over. You want it to sit in its own fat.
Yeah.
All right? Because it'll crisp up on both sides. Now, what you do is you tell them, get excited about this, you see. You take the oven and you put it on grill, but you then drop the shelf. So when you're cooking conventional bacon, you'd raise this up. When you're doing pork chops, you bring it down just to less than halfway. Have the grill on medium to high, something like that, and then gently, gently cook it. Pork chops like this is going to take about sort of maybe 12 to 14 minutes to cook all the way through, because you want it nice and crispy, the fat crispy. So then you take the pork chops. These have been here. Look at these.
Oh, yeah.
Straight out the grill.
Proper pork chops then.
These just go in there and you kind of leave them for 12 to 15 minutes. That's all it is. Now, in here, you can see what's happening in here with this pan. But what I do with this would freak people out. Freak people out. You just take a little bit of this and you put that in the cabbage. Mix this together. A bit more black pepper.
Yeah.
On here. Grab yourself a plate. And you take your cabbage. And you can see already in here, all the sort of water's evaporated. And you're left with this emulsified butter. There you go.
That looks good, that.
The cabbage is so, so nice with this. If you want to change the recipe slightly, you can do that with a bit of mustard. But you can see, look at the crackling you get on this. So you get this lovely crackling. This is sexy TV, this, isn't it? Look at this. but you maybe not if you're vegetarian, so sorry about this, but you've got the cabbage. But look, but for me, this is... But you got the crispy pork crackling. It's a bit like a lamb chop. When a lamb chop's crispy and it's lovely, that's when it's at its best. I think pork chops are the same. Nice. So you just put that on the side. And that's all you want. Now, Katie, I wish you were here because the only taste tester I've got is Alysia there.
Yeah. I'm not that fussed that you're not here.
No, you're not.
Sorry about
I'm
that,
so
Katie.
jealous. Very jelly.
As we lose 1,000 viewers. But look, you can see you got that nice crispy fat, but the key to that is the quality of the pork. So when you Google it and you look for somebody, middle white is the key. So
that's nice,
that's where it comes from. But reduce the temperature of the grill down, put it on the middle shelf, and they work every time.
I'm doing this for you.
You can have a little taste, go on then.
I am, though. If it's squeaky, I'm going to say, you know that, don't you?
It's not squeaky, it won't be squeaky.
Oh, it's banging that, it's cracking.
Yeah, it's not squeaky. It's definitely not squeaky pork. There you go.
I like the description as well, because banging would be probably what I said.
Exactly, yeah. Well, there you go, Katie. Best of luck with that one.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Really
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for coming down today, boss. We'll open a bottle of wine for you to have a drink. All right? There you go. Happy right. Still to come, I'll be giving you a masterclass in potatoes, and Paul Rankin and Matt Gillan will be here very shortly. But don't go in here, because after the break, I'll be in the kitchen with Pussycat doll Kimberly Wyatt. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, coming up, I'll be enjoying the Art Deco glamour of Burr Island and another food adventure. And Paul Rankin will be getting behind the hobs very shortly. But first, I'm here with a Pussycat doll who's risking all of her 9 lives on a new series of Dancing on Ice. It's the fabulous Kimberly Wyatt. Yay! Big love for you in the house as well.
Yay!
First of all, what are you doing a show like this?
Tell me about it. I really don't know, but... But with the world tour of the Pussycat Dolls continually postponed, then I was doing a political thriller play, and that got postponed, and there I was, strapping on my figure skates to see what I got.
Right, I mean, professional dancing was what you... I'm just going to explain. We're going to get this... this is a risotto. I'm going to cook for you probably one of my favourite dishes that I've ever cooked, really. It's a Thai crab risotto. I love this. I'll explain it in a minute. We've got a nice little bit of pan-fried halibut as well. But your love of dancing, forget about the skates bit, but your love of dancing, that's the bit that started you off in your career, first of all. Not in a group or anything. It was...
No, yeah. Dance is my first love. And it was actually like... As a kid, I loved watching figure skating in the Olympics. That's what I always dreamed to do.
So did I, but there was not much chance of that for me. Yeah.
Same. So that's what kind of led me into dance, and dance took me to do some amazing things around the world.
But it was ballet, wasn't it, really? When you were... Tell us about this. You got a scholarship, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did competitions from the age of 10. I was winning competitions like Junior Miss Dance.
Your first ever competition, though?
Yeah, I did, yes. 10 years old. You have to.
I've done research on you.
My goodness. Like it.
If there was Mastermind, we'd be all right. I may look a bit weird, but a bit...
Shocking.
Exactly.
Mastermind, it was shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would do competitions and win scholarships to train in New York in the summers at the Joffrey and Broadway Dance Center and Steps on Broadway. So that kind of broadened my horizons as to what could be done as a performer in the world.
So did you... I mean, often with dancing, you pick a style, really, don't you? I mean, like you were saying, you're ballet, but... You know, that's years and years and years and years of work.
Absolutely.
What style did you pick a style quite earlier on, or?
Well, as a kid, I really loved jazz. I loved lyrical, contemporary, and like a huge, very solid foundation in ballet. So that was like what I loved. But when I wanted to become a professional dancer, when I wanted to work, I had to find a style that was going to get me booked. So it was using my legs and everything I learned through ballet and contemporary to do more of the commercial stuff that I ended up doing with the Pussycat Dolls. Because
the ballet is balance.
Yeah.
You learn balance, don't you? I know this. I know this technical thing. I did Strictly, you know. But it is... I didn't do ballet, but it is... The ballet teaches you the balance and the precision, isn't that right?
Massively. And the discipline of dance and just the nuances of just what it really takes to be able to lift your leg up to your head. There's so much that goes into that.
So when you were doing that, and you were doing that, and what was it? Because you were dancing in the back of a... Were you dancing in the back of a video, or back of a band, or something like that, and then you got spotted?
So when I joined the Pussycat Dolls, I was doing an audition for Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson's. It was called The Newlyweds on MTV.
Yeah.
And so it was Larry Rudolph at the time, who was the manager, that saw me at that audition. It was Robin, who was the creator of the dolls, who was the choreographer at that audition. And they saw me and what I could do then, and were like, you've got to come join this group, Pussycat Dolls. But at the time, it was just like an underground little dance troupe at the Viper Room. But within a year and a half, we had our first single, Don't Ya, in 2005, launched it, and just, it catapulted us to superstardom around the world.
Which brings me on to where we are now, which we're now dancing on ice. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
How's it going? Because this. I mean, it is very. It's got to be very, very different to everything else, you know. Because people, you know, Strictly, I suppose, we've had some Pussycat Dolls on there. There was criticism that you were dancers already, which for you, I suppose it is. But with skates, it's.
Oh my God, it's a whole different ball game. I think because I do have a bit of a dance background, it almost serves as it makes it a bit harder because I have.
Well, the pressure's on you a little bit more.
The pressure's on. I do have flexibility, so I can work with that. But I'm still such a novice on the ice, so to get into these amazing, hopefully crazy positions, it's like the fear factor is at the highest it could possibly be.
But then I suppose dance is very, very different to what it is on Strictly because, you know, there is a lead person in Strictly.
Yeah.
That in particularly what you're doing in terms of the group. There isn't a lead because you know you're all doing individual sort of stuff.
Yeah.
This is ice skating. It's the same thing, is it?
Similar. I mean, I've
point?
got like my pro. I've got my pro who's with me through all the choreography and stuff. But I definitely feel like he sees the potential in me, so he's really pushing to get me just skating on my own. But I very much just want to like hold on to him for every single move.
But it seems to me, I mean, reading about you and speaking to you now, you always like a challenge, but you're also quite competitive.
Yeah, I am. Oh, I am.
But I don't mean to be competitive, but there's two people who have ever cooked for me on this show. You're the second. Chris Evans was the first. And his dish was useless.
At least he didn't set the bar too high for me.
I don't...
It makes me, cooking live for somebody, makes me nervous.
You'll be fine, you'll be fine. So I'm just going to recap what we've got here. We've got the risotto cooking away nicely. You keep stirring this, of course. I've got this is lovely. This is turbot, one of the biggest flat fishes in the sea. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Lovely meaty fish as well, absolutely glorious. We just cook this nice and simply. A little bit of oil. So I season it on one side, so then you don't get little black spots of pepper on the other side. So season it on one side, a little bit of table salt, and that's going to sit in there nicely, which sits just in the pan like that. And you almost cook this, the key to this is cooking it really, really quickly, but nice and simply. So you just want to cook this for no more than about 2 or 3 minutes, and the whole thing is cooked all the way through. So you just get a nice colour of it. We're going to finish it off with a little bit of butter. Meanwhile, all your risotto is just cooking away nicely, which we have in here. And, of course, you're familiar with cooking anyway, because we've seen you not just compete on MasterChef, but you did pretty well, didn't you?
Go on, you can say it.
Go on, then. You won it.
I won it. I was the champion.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I'll never
Really?
forget. Yes! Every time I'd go in the kitchen, they'd be like, go. I'd pick up a knife and I'd be shaking like a leaf.
Yeah.
But I think my competitive spirit definitely came into tow.
But also, wait, tell us where you were brought up in the States as well, because food has got it. I mean, particularly that area. Food is an essential part of everything.
100%. Like, you know, I grew up in Missouri, right in the middle of the States, Midwest, and it is Kansas City barbecue. It's all about barbecue and lovely, smoky, amazing, bold flavors. So, yeah.
So your family, were your family into music? What tell us about growing up as a kid. What was that like?
I mean, my dad loved music. He loved Fleetwood Mac and Lynyrd Skynyrd and loads of really great bands. He used to play a bit of the drums. He used to play a little bit of the guitar.
Oh, so you were brought up around music,
So I was brought up a bit around music. And we loved to go see a live show. Like, we'd go to the Lake of the Ozarks a lot and go see the little bands there and around, which was amazing. But yeah, worlds away from what became the Pussycat Dolls stuff. But yeah, I loved all of that.
Do you miss all that, the Pussycat? I know you're going to do it again, but
yeah.
I mean, there must have been a stage where you come away from that because it was so intense.
It was so intense, yeah.
But almost so intense for so quick. You know, often with bands and they've got to work at it and they've got to go to clubs and everything else.
It was intense.
You didn't do any of that?
It was
Bang,
really intense.
Straight, big time.
Yeah, I mean, we grafted. The dolls, like, we were worked really, really hard. But the wheels sort of fell off. It became too much, too soon. And
that was that a decision collectively?
No, it
for all of
wasn't.
you? Or?
I was actually the first person that sort of stepped away. So took a step back, went and did some great things, each as individuals on our own, and then it was like, yeah, I think we're all up for just one last hurrah, live the dream.
Because often when you're in a group like that, you can, I mean, you see it in the past, people separate and don't speak to each other again and all that. You've managed, all of you, you can tell.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got a great camaraderie together.
We do, yeah. It's an interesting dynamic, but it's the best feeling in the world being on stage with the girls as a Pussycat doll. In your fishnets and your stilettos and your corsets and the whole thing. It is a really powerful, awesome feeling. And getting to do what you love with your mates is pretty brilliant.
Well, exactly, look.
Yeah.
So we've got here, look, we've got a nice little bit of risotto. I don't know if we go that to this pan of risotto, but, we'll do our best. There you go. So you've got a nice little bit of risotto now. Now, to finish this off, so often with risottos, you can continue cooking it and then finish it off this way. What I would do is get to the stage where it's just al dente, just a little bit to the bite, so you can check to see whether the rice is cooked, which that is. So you want to make, the key to a risotto is not to make sure it's too thick. It's really quite important, this bit. So the fish is cooked, it's left to rest. This is the important bit. So we've got white meat now, so fresh white crab meat, which from your neck of the woods is amazing.
Yes,
and shrimp and stuff like that. You can do amazing stuff with shrimp. Then we got brown crab meat. And the brown crab meat gives a great background flavour to this as well. So this is picked crab meat. That's gone in there. Then we've got all these flavours. So if you're Italian, turn away at this point, because this is going to upset you. Mascarpone cheese.
They get really upset.
Oh, this will properly kick off.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll properly kick off. Yeah, there'd be stuff flying around at this moment in time in Italian people's houses. Double cream.
I did an Alfredo with mascarpone. They were not happy.
No. But when you do this, it's all about offsetting the thickness of it, but it does work. And
it does,
yeah, like I said, this is one of my most popular dishes in the restaurant. So we got Parmesan cheese. So the idea is, your mascarpone cheese goes in, your cream goes in, and it's good to have a little bit of stock left over just to bring it back a little bit. So you start off by adding all these flavours in first. So those go in. We want lime zest, which is hardly ever in a risotto anyway, and lime juice. So a good amount of lime juice and zest. So that gets squeezed together. Now, if you see it like this, and then you start putting it back on the heat, start bringing this together, it starts to soften up in there. So you keep moving it around, you can see that texture changing like that. It smells good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Right, there you go. Bit of that. Mix it all together. Then one final little taste.
Sexy.
This is sexy.
Sexy
I've never heard of it called
risotto.
sexy, but if you want to call it sexy, that's fine by me.
Good food is sexy.
Then, grab yourself. It's lovely with that bit of kickers, bit of spice. So we're just ready to plate it up. So you got your lovely risotto.
Oof.
Tons of flavour on this. And then with the risotto, you want to do that. Just collapses. The fish. Take a nice little bit of halibut on the top. A little bit of zest. Halibut over the top. And then just finish that with a little bit of coriander cress, with this baby coriander over the top.
Oh my God, that looks amazing.
Kimberly Wyatt,
yes.
That is my dish for you.
Wow.
And I'm looking forward for you cooking for me a little bit later on the show. Done. And just before we serve it, a little bit of lime over the top. There you have it.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Tell me what you think.
That looks epic.
I've set the bar now You're cooking shortly.
No, don't say that! That is gorgeous. Oh my gosh. That little bit of heat through it as well is so nice.
It's nice, though, isn't it?
Oh my God.
I love that. Carry on eating it. Right, and Kimberly will be cooking for me at the end of the show. Right, I'll be going to Devon on a food adventure very shortly, but join me after the break when the one and only Mr. Paul Rankin will be firing up these very stores after I've cleaned up this mess, of course. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, make sure you don't miss this week's little masterclass in potatoes. 4 dishes I'll be doing. And Kimberly Wyatt will be cooking for me at the end of the show. I'm looking forward to that one. But first, I'm here with a chef who over the years has won Michelin stars and cooked for millions of fans on his TV appearances. It's the brilliant Mr. Paul Rankin.
Yeah! Good morning. Top of the morning to you.
Good to have you back on the show, chef. Great to have you. You brought some pigeon with you.
I did, yeah. I was down in Trafalgar Square yesterday.
He's like,
no, you don't.
There aren't many there.
You don't want to get in Trafalgar Square. But I do love pigeon. And for me, pigeon is one of the great, affordable, very refined, tasty meats that's available. So you start out, ideally you want ones that have the skin on. Sometimes they just pull all the feathers off and they take but the skin protects them while they're cooking. And all we really want are the breasts. So you can see the breastbone here. Yeah. Down the breastbone, right through the wishbone. Just tease the breasts off or away from the bone. Keep your knife towards the bone. And there we have our beautiful pigeon. Yeah. So what we're going to do to add big flavour to the sauce, we're going to use all of the carcass. Yeah.
You do get an amazing sauce from this, though, don't you? That's
incredible sauce because we're using the legs and all the bones as well. So I've got lots of pigeon breasts. So ideally what you do with the breasts is you take an old knife. This is James's old knife. These are the good knives.
I was watching.
He wouldn't be having me back on the... And you blatter them up like that and you get all the carcasses into a pan. Yeah. And which pan am I using? That pan. So pretend there's like 3 or 4 carcasses in there. Yeah. And you get them into a nice hot oven. Yeah. And you roast them off. And I'm doing this first because this is what I need to get done, is the sauce. So look, you smell that? I mean, it's proper flavour, proper aromas here. Yeah. So into that, we add our mirepoix, or some onion, some celery, some garlic.
So the roasting just gives the colour, but also flavour from it. It is important. It's an important bit.
Yeah, it gives that sort of caramelised edge, which is lovely, you know. Yeah. A little bit of.
Now this dish wasn't this dish from your first ever cookbook?
No, well,
a variant of it, was it?
Third cookbook. Third. You know, I'm getting to the stage now where I can't be bothered writing new recipes.
I know that.
You must understand.
We usually get text messages from the chefs going, what do you want to cook? Bits and pieces. To be honest with you, this chap's as basic as it comes. It's a handwritten photograph on a piece of paper. That's what you're going to be cooking. No recipe, no ingredients, nothing. Right?
But you know exactly what I mean.
I know what you like.
I always think of recipe writing. It's a bit like when you're at school and you really enjoyed doing the chemistry experiment, but you didn't want to do your homework and write it up.
Yeah, so you leave me to do your homework.
So
you're leaving me to do your homework.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. If you can get someone to do your homework, that's a good thing. Exactly. That's a really good thing. Now, the cooking of pigeon is really, it's almost like a test of how sensitive you are. You know, so it suits a sort of hippy-dippy dude like me. Someone like you would need to work very hard on being sensitive enough to cook the pigeon right. No, I'm teasing. You just need to be gentle with it because of the game can be really... Look at this, is the problem with cooking my glasses on. Help! I'm going to invent window wipers on glasses for chefs, you know. Look at the colour of that meat. Isn't that absolutely glorious? Absolutely glorious. So I always say when you're cooking something like pigeon, just butter in the pan, just have it subtly bubbling like this.
Yeah.
So it almost wants to brown, but it's not quite there.
Okay.
And mostly skin side down we're going to cook it because the skin will protect the flesh.
So you do this with partridge as well, the same way as you're cooking partridge, the
Yes,
same thing?
yes.
So I think the key to... You said about the pigeon is the cooking of it is vitally, vitally important because you certainly don't want it undercooked. No. You certainly don't want it overcooked. So the test is this, like you were saying.
So that's... Now, I wonder if anyone at home noticed that James has again copied the way I'm dressed.
Is that right?
Look, we're both in
I'd love
navy
to...
shirts with white buttons and a white
Paul,
t-shirt.
I would love to wear a shirt like that, but I think I was probably 12 when I used to be able to get in a shirt like that. 12 months, I mean, not 12.
No. All right, now, we're going to...
I couldn't possibly get in a shirt like that. I think I would have an air gap of about this much.
It's the same.
You've got half the material in your shirt than I have.
Well, let's swap and see.
No, I'm definitely not swapping.
All right, this thing. This is called a globe artichoke, one of my all-time favorite vegetables.
Yeah.
And we're going to do something that's really quite luxurious and quite chefy, okay?
Okay.
Now, if you don't fancy doing globe artichoke, you can do this with something like celeriac or butternut squash, yeah? Okay. So we take some of the leaves off, and what we're going to do is, this is called turning an artichoke. And what we want to keep as much of the heart as possible, but we want to shave the leaves off. So all we're doing is shaving off any of the green stuff, yeah? And then we come round. A lot of you'll look at this and go, it's quite wasteful, and it is quite wasteful, but it's quite a sort of, it's kind of a European French technique type of thing, you know? It's quite suited to posh restaurants and things like that, you know? So then, now we're down to the heart, and what I do here is I cut them into quarters, and it's called an artichoke, and this furry stuff here is this choke. This is what chokes you. Yeah. So I just cut down the bottom, and then it all pushes out. See that?
Now, I mentioned chefy. I mean, you fell in love with food quite early on, but wasn't it Le Gavroche that sort of changed your attitude towards food?
Well, it was certainly the Gavroche that cemented my obsession with food, you know? So these go into acidulated water, and then we cut them into wedges, and then what I'm going to do is fry them. So the Gavroche was the first restaurant I ever cooked in.
Yeah.
And so...
First restaurant you ever cooked in? Straight into a 3-star Michelin
Straight into a 3-star Michelin restaurant. So I then worked there for 3 years, and eventually, about 5.5 years later, I got my own restaurant. And we thought we were doing a brasserie, but I didn't know any other way to cook because I trained in the Gavroche. So when I often say that I got my Michelin star by accident because I didn't mean to get a Michelin star. I just didn't know any other way to cook. You know what I mean? It's it's like, you know, that's what happened kind of thing. So, yeah, definitely.
It's good cooking with glass, isn't it?
It's mental. Do you not need glasses yet?
Not yet.
Just for reading or
Just
something.
for reading.
Yeah. What I do with all this stuff now? I need someone to tidy up after me, Jim.
So you put it in behind you. I'll put it in my compost heap.
What I'll do is this. So we get rid of all that. I know it seems like a waste, but
you didn't have to buy the artichokes.
I didn't have to buy the artichokes, and you know, this is... So all I do is sweat them off in a little bit of butter with some salt. You don't need to boil them for this. This is... I've definitely got this in the wrong place. I need to swap those around. Why didn't you tell me to do that earlier?
If I'd have been over there, I would have switched it over for you.
Why didn't you tell me to do that
Of course
earlier?
I'd have turned it up.
So we sweat those for about 10 minutes, okay? So just imagine those are sweated for about 10 minutes. Then in goes half a clove of garlic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some double cream.
Yeah.
You can do this in the oven, but it'll then take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And what we're going to get is we get the artichokes sort of beautifully creamed.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is make a gratin out of this, yeah?
Okay. So this is what you were going to do with pumpkin?
I was going to do this with pumpkin, yeah. Which is much easier than the artichoke one. But if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to pretend, go, do I feel like a Michelin chef today? Buy the artichokes and have a go. See how difficult it is. See how difficult it is. So that's going in the grill. James, if that burns, it's your fault, okay?
Okay, fine.
If that burns, it's your fault.
Right, so what are you doing next? We've got spinach to go and we've got the sauce to go. So.
Yeah, we're just going to strain off the sauce. The aromas from that is terrific. Absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
So now, look, we have the pigeon, which is beautifully cooked.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to have a look. Yep, fine.
And the sage leaves.
It's a good idea to keep these juices, cook the spinach in as well.
Yeah. You know, it's all about nurturing the layers of flavour. I mean, it's quite difficult to do this in a commercial situation, but when we're just messing around at your mates, it's easy. Now, this is the...
It's not there yet. It's not there yet.
So this is the thing that we're going to do now. The skin on the pigeon is actually quite unpleasant to eat.
Yeah.
So we slip the knife underneath.
So you use that to protect it from cooking, but then you take it off afterwards.
And then we take it off, yeah? And they should be left a little bit like duck. Should be kind of rare to medium rare. Oh, James, you're a star. How good does that smell? You can actually smell the beautiful artichoke flavour from that, can't you? Mm-hmm. So the skin comes off. There we go. And then the chefy thing to do here would be to Monty au beurre. Mount it with butter. It brings up, Mr. Roux used to say, brings up a beautiful shine, my boy, a beautiful shine.
Yeah.
As he's looking deeply into my eyes.
Amazing cook.
Amazing. I could tell you a few stories about that fella. Maybe not on this show. Yeah. So here, we'll just take a little bit of the beautiful artichokes onto the plate. We've got the pigeon breast. I'm just going to cut one down the middle. You can slice it really nice and thinly, which is what I used to do, but it's a bit of a faff at home to do that kind of thing, you know? Yeah. And then spoons are down here. A little bit of spinach just to freshen the whole thing up. And we have our sauce, which is just sensational. And we're just finished with a few sage leaves. And that's my pigeon. Help.
You nearly burnt the sauce then.
I was hoping it would burn something.
You were close then.
I'm just too good. I'm just too good.
Wait till next time. Paul Rankin, everybody. Thank you. Right, I'm looking forward to this.
Hey, man.
There you go.
Probably your sort of grub at this time of year.
You said about the sauce, it's the reducing it down before you add the butter. That's the key to it, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the sauce is proper. And pigeon's such a beautiful flavour.
It really is. When you cook it like that, though, the simplicity of what you cook it, that's the key, isn't it? Yeah. Take that skin off.
Yeah. It's like butter. It's really like a proper...
And the artichokes, they are a little bit of work, but they're really, really worth it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes the vegetable garnish quite special.
Yeah.
And because they're slightly starchy, it also doubles up on being your sort of starch instead of potato.
So without that sauce, reducing it all down, the carcass is great, that. Paul Rankin, everybody. And you didn't burn anything?
Nothing.
Nothing. Not yet, anyway. Right. Chef Matt Gillan will be sharing a recipe of his own a little bit later. Dancing on Ice star Kimberly Wyatt will be cooking for me at the end of the show. But after the break, I'll be taking a trip to Devon on another one of my favourite food adventures. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, this week's masterclass is just around the corner, and Dancing on Ice, Kimberly Wyatt will be taking over the kitchen at the end of the show. I'm looking forward to that one. OK, it's time to take a look back at some of my favourite food adventures. And this week, I'm in Devon, where I'm serving up a dish of brill in the amazing Art Deco splendour of the Burr Island Hotel. Enjoy this one. What a location. And I've got the perfect dish to pay homage to this glorious hotel. And Devon too. Now, it's easy to understand why people have fallen in love with this place. This really is a unique spot. And you'll certainly fall in love with this food because this is really, really simple. This is a lump of fish on a barbecue. I'm going to serve it the wonderful beurre blanc sauce, which is, of course, a French classic, as is Art Deco. So what you start off and do, first of all, is make a reduction. And chefs like to call this a gastric. But it's actually a really strong mixture of vinegar and white wine. And it's a reduction that you commonly use in a lot of sauces, a lot of French sauces anyway. So we start off with some diced shallots. It's a good idea to use shallots, not really onions, because onions are too strong. They're nice and mild. So chop them all up. And then we take a mixture of white wine vinegar and white wine. It's a bit hot, that pan. So we take white wine vinegar and we make a simple little reduction in there with some shallots, some peppercorns, a few bits of peppercorns, a little bit of bay leaf, and you reduce this down to almost nothing. Now, a good tip, just a little bit of this amazing Devon cream. Now, classically, you wouldn't add the cream to this, but it stabilises the mixture because it makes it much more easier to work with. So while that's reducing down, I can turn my attention to my amazing brill. You have to love this. It is absolutely beautiful. And I'm basically just going to prepare this really simple for a barbecue. So we take it whole like this, and then using a pair of scissors, we just remove the fins like that. Take the head off, get rid of that. Then we take our lovely piece of fish and we're going to cut this straight in half. Go either side of that big bone. There's one bone right through the middle. You want to just pick it up either side of that. But look at that. Just look at that for a piece of fish. Beautiful. And then simply just prepare this. I'm just going to use the same knife because it's going to cook anyway. Got a bit of lemon. A few bits on there. Like that. And then I grabbed these en route from the supermarket. I thought these were quite cool, really. You just pop your fish in. I'm going to season it up. Bit of black pepper. Bit of salt. A few bits of lemon. And close this down. Same again. Fish on. Bit of salt and pepper. Over the top. Just gonna nip and wash my hands. Now this sauce has almost disappeared now, this cream, it's just, look, that's what we want. Makes your eyes stream, that's what it should be. It's quite strong. And then we just leave that to one side. And all I'm gonna do now is lift off our griddle and cook our fish over our coals. How good does that look? So, look, you just flip this over. Oh, check this out. Beautiful bit of fish like that. But we're going to finish off this sauce. Now, you can see it's almost literally reduced down to next to nothing. And then this is where we add the butter. Now, there are people who watch these shows that apparently watch them while they're at the gym. But if you're on a treadmill at this point, turn it up a bit, because I'm about to add about 450 grams of butter. You cannot make this with olive oil, you cannot make it with margarine, it has to be butter. So you just keep whisking it in, and you do this off the heat really. It doesn't melt in all the butter, just put it back on a little bit just to bring it back again, but whatever you do, don't boil it, because it's the butter that thickens the sauce. So you finish after about adding 500 grams of butter-ish. You got beurre blanc. And then we're just going to flavour that with just a touch of lemon juice, like that. And then chives. Fresh chives, I always think, are the best. A little bit of parsley. You can leave it as it is if you wanted to, but just a bit of that in the sauce. And keep mixing it together. Try and just keep it in the fridge, otherwise it'll firm up like a block of butter, and then you've got, well, beurre blanc by the slice, to be brutally honest with you. But then to serve this, we can then grab our fish. See, look at that. Beautiful. Always try wherever possible as well. Try and leave the skin on the fish if you're going to do stuff like this. It just protects it, just in case it catches a little bit too much. You can leave the skin behind, like that. And then we've got these amazing Art Deco plates that I don't think will ever fall out of fashion, really. A bit like this sauce. In fact, a bit like this place. There's something uniquely special about it. Let me just pop a little bit of the beurre blanc on the side. A little bit of olive oil. And there we have it. Beurre blanc with brill from literally just out there, cooked in one of the most beautiful places I think I've ever been. It is fabulous. Cheers. There you have it, a touch of French class. Perfect for the glamorous 1930s. It's an amazing place, Burr Island, and I urge you to go visit it as well. Beautiful Art Deco place. Right, still to come, we've got dishes on the way from Matt Gillan, and Dancing on Ice star Kimberly Wyatt will be cooking for me for a change. But I'll see you back after the break in a masterclass of potatoes. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now my guest, Kimberly Wyatt, will be making me a turkey pie a little bit later, and Chef Matt Gillan will be whipping up an amazing monkfish recipe quite shortly. But first, it's time for this week's little masterclass. Now, this week's masterclass is celebrating the humble potato. In fact, over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to celebrate individual veg for you and show you lots of different ways to use it and lots of different recipes. And we're starting off with basically 4 potato recipes for this one, 2 of which you've probably never heard of before, and certainly 1 of which you've probably never done before. So we're going to start off with one that's going to take the longest amount of time to cook for this one. We're going to start off pomme parisienne. Classic dish from when I was at college. This is a classic garnish, but they taste unbelievable, these ones. So parisienne is the parisienne scoop. It's a melon baller, basically. These are a large melon baller, but you can do the smaller ones as well, like these ones. It's entirely up to you. But the idea of this, you cook it in a meat glaze. And you start off by taking the meat glaze, which is usually, not always, veal stock, beef stock. But you can use chicken stock for this if you wish. But you can actually get away with fish stock if you want to serve this as a fish garnish. But the idea being, as the potatoes cook in this glaze, it produces this amazing glaze which finishes it off cooking. Think of it in the style of sort of Vichy, those Vichy carrots. As you cook it, the water evaporates, you end up with the butter in there, and it produces this amazing glaze. So a little bit of garlic gone in there. Get this nice and hot. You can take a touch of fresh thyme. It's entirely up to you. This is purely optional, but generally it's just the meat glaze, which is just the stock. So a little bit of fresh thyme going in there as well. And then, of course, you need a bit of butter. So a little bit of butter in there as well. Now, what you do is you cook the potatoes in this glaze, in this stock. So this is going to go in here. We pop the potatoes in. These can go in here. Now, the idea being, as the potatoes cook, you then turn up the heat and it reduces this sauce down. And it is a sauce. It's not, this, when it reduces down, will create a sauce, which then creates a glaze, which then glazes the potatoes. That's a good one. So we'll just move that to one side and get that cooking. Get that on there. Meanwhile, we'll get the butter melting for the next one. Now, as I said to you, we're going to top and tail with this with two dishes you've probably never heard of before. That one particularly, that's certainly the last one. But the middle ones you will have done. I'm going to get some butter in here. There's quite a lot of butter in here for the next one. This is called a pomme Anna. It's up to you what potatoes you use, really, for these, but these can be King Edwards, they can be bacon potatoes. It's entirely up to you. Now, you treat this like a dauphinoise potatoes. In fact, there's probably 3 dishes that are very similar to this. This is the pomme Anna one, which classically it would be done in a pomme Anna mould, and there's a particular mould, and I remember having one of these moulds when we were at college, and there was only one mould, and that's what the lecturer would use. You'd have to use a tin, but it was a copper mould, and it would be a copper mould with 2 handles, and it would have a copper lid on the top, and that would be a classic pomme Anna tin or pan, and it would be usually made out of copper. And I don't think they make them anymore because it's one of those dishes that sort of, it is quite, takes quite a long time to make, but when you're making it, it's fantastic to go with Sunday lunch and that kind of stuff because you can reheat it. That's the amazing thing about this sort of stuff. But we can do it in one of these little dishes over here. So now it's entirely up to you whether you want to do this bit or not. You can take the potatoes and then you can cut them into circles. And usually what happens is you take a little bit of the butter in the mould, as that is, like that. And then you take the potatoes. Now, usually on the bottom, you would line the potatoes with this. Now, you can imagine doing it when we were at college. You'd have to do every single potato cut out like this. But to be fair, life's too short, to be honest with you, when you learn. You just keep going round. Now, it's important, really, with the bottom ones, you want a sort of a nice pattern and overlap it. Very similar to how you do a dauphinoise. I'm going to show you the dauphinoise in a minute. And we do the same thing again. Now, each and every layer, or every couple of layers, as you're doing this, we then take the butter, like that. Now, it's the similar sort of process if you were doing this, if you were doing things like boulanger potatoes, which is named after a baker's oven in France. And this would be layered up with potatoes and onions, usually just done with water, not butter. Each layer with salt and pepper. And the idea being, once the baker had finished using his oven for his bread in the morning, everybody in the village or the town would then make their potatoes and take it up to the baker's oven. The residual heat from the baker's oven would be then to use to cook your potatoes, hence the pomme boulanger, like that. So you thinly slice it as you go. And you're building all this up with layers of butter and potatoes, and you keep going like that. And imagine doing this in a big mould, and usually the pomme Anna mould's quite high, and you've got to fill it like this right the way up. Because the idea is it cooks, it sort of compresses as well. So you've got to make sure you put a good amount of layers in. And when you're doing this, you know, you want to be piling this quite high up. But with this also, don't be frightened of the butter, because you do need quite a bit with this one. So this is your classic pomme Anna. It's potatoes roasted in butter. Salt and pepper as we go. You keep going all the way up. Get to about sort of twice this height, maybe, something like that. And then pop it in the oven. And it wants to cook for about an hour and sort of 20 minutes, depending on the thickness. Sometimes the thicker ones are good sort of an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. It sits in the oven. You don't need to cover it. Can do if you want. That then roasts in the oven, about sort of 160, so it's not too hot, 170, something like that. And we end up with one that looks kind of like this as it cooks. This classic sort of pomme Anna. Now, what you want to do is tip that out, and you end up with what I've got on here. So this is, you cut round the edge, while it's still warm, tip it out. And then the idea being, you get your brush, and you brush it over. I remember I had a chef that, you need to bring it alive, chef. So we're bringing it alive by a little bit of melted butter over the top. But you see you end up with this amazing potato cake. So that's your classic pomme anna. Now, once we got to that stage, that's one. We got our pomme parisienne cooking away. Next up, classic dauphinoise potatoes, one of the most famous potato dishes that we all sort of love. The easiest way to do that with dauphinoise potatoes is take it the same sort of way as we were doing with the pomme anna. So thinly sliced potatoes. Now I'm using a mandolin. If you are going to do this, use a guard, but you want lots and lots of sliced potatoes as you go in, like that. And my advice to you, once you get to that stage, cloth. So, there. Otherwise, you'll do a Rick Stein, which he lost his finger, more or less, on here. So, nice and thinly sliced. Now, I'm using the King Edward, so you can use the Maribels. It's entirely up to you, really. Like I said, you can do this with any sort of potatoes. It's not really that important until you start almost frying them, and then you want your classic chipping potatoes. So just be careful when you're doing this. All the way down, like that. Now, we'll turn our attention to dauphinoise. Now, a lot of people do dauphinoise slightly differently. Some people cook them in the pan with the garlic and the cream and the milk. It's entirely up to you. This is the way I always taught, classically. You take the garlic, give it a little crush, and you rub the dish with the garlic, like that. And you rub it in. Doesn't matter, a few little bits go in, that's fine, but you want to rub the garlic all over the dish. And that's kind of enough that's in there. You can then take a little bit of butter, do the same thing again, just in there as well. We can then take our potatoes. And again, you don't have to be too fancy about this one, just pop the potatoes in. Again, the most important bit when you're doing this is seasoning. So salt, pepper, as you go. Do the same thing again. So every layer, every couple of layers, make sure you put seasoning in all the way through. And you keep building this up. Now, the great thing about both of these potato dishes, the pomme anna and the dauphinoise, you can make beforehand and reheat, which is brilliant, as in the day beforehand as well. So you keep layering this all up. So plenty of salt and pepper as we go, a few bits on there. And you've got your classic, simple little dauphinoise. Now, if you want to be a bit fancy, you can take the cutter and then you can garnish this on the top. It's entirely up to you. But let's face it, it's going to taste exactly the same. It's only going to look different. That's all it is. So salt and pepper, bit of that again. Give it a quick shake of these. And then we've got a combination of cream and milk. Now, interestingly enough, the French don't have cream like we have cream, as in their double cream. Their cream is sort of like our whipping cream, really. But they do have this thing called mountain cream, which is like our thick cream. But we use a combination of milk and cream. Combination of the two. And you want to just pour this up. Now, like I say, there's different ways to do this. You can take this and you can pop it all in a pan, cook these down for about 10 minutes, then put them in the dish. It's entirely up to you. That way the garlic comes through it. It's entirely up to you as well. But you can pour that in here. There's quite a lot of milk and quite a lot of liquid goes in here. You don't want these to dry out. That's the key to it. So you can always top it up if need be. Cheese, it's entirely up to you which cheese you use. I mean, classically, I've always used Comté, which is the French-style cheese. It's probably their most famous cheese as well, really, that one. One of their most famous cheeses, a bit like our sort of cheddar cheese. Now, this is a quick tip. If it starts to get a little bit too dry in here and your potatoes are not cooked, what you want to do is take a little bit of water and top it back up again. So you just put in a bit more liquid and then reduce it down a bit more. So you can take your little bit of cheese. It's purely optional, the cheese on these. You don't have to. That's going to go in there. And then we cook that again. Exactly the same thing with the pomme anna. And then we end up with another one that's going to come out of the oven. So this is your classic bubbling away dauphinoise potatoes. What I like to do just before I serve it is, again, take a little bit of melted butter over the top. And there's your classic pomme dauphinoise. Beautiful, layered with cream and butter and milk. And then when you get a spoon, you've got that classic dauphinoise that come off it as well. Beautiful, piping hot, absolutely delicious. So there's your pomme Anna, there's your dauphinoise. We've got a pomme parisienne next. Now, our final one, really, this is pomme soufflé, all right? What we do with these is take the potatoes, we put them on the mandolin, nice and thin, and we end up with thin sliced potatoes, which I've got in here. And then we put them in between layers of kitchen paper, all right? I'll make you one, just to show you. So nice and thin, but dry. Then I've got a glue, and this glue is sort of a corn flour and egg white mix. And we spread that over the top of our potato, like that. There we go. So then, you take your cutter, we then sandwich this in here, compress it, take a cutter, cut it through, and then we end up with this disc. Now, these bits, get rid of, but then with this disc, you've got to be quite careful with it. You don't want this to move and slip. And then what we do is we just leave that on a tray like that and just let it dry out. So it dries out in the kitchen paper for about an hour. It dries out on here for an hour. Then we deep fry it in really hot oil. So veg oil for this one, and you just pop the potatoes in like that. And then watch what happens. Keep rolling them around in the oil. And it's important once they start to puff up, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you keep rolling them around, keep them coating in that oil, like that. Roll them around, roll them around, roll them around. Turn them over every now and then. Like that. Hey, I love doing these. They just make you smile. My chefs don't smile when you put these on the menu for 300 people. So you take the potatoes, bring these across, and I've got some more that I've done on here as well. We'll add these to the mix. And these are your puffed up potatoes. So when they're cooked like that, look, they puff up like little balls, like little soufflés. There I have it. So it's corn flour and egg white, and a little bit of thyme, not the herb, just thyme. And then finally, we've got on here, we finish off our little parisienne. So it's nice and simple, cooked with that stock. You can see this starting to glaze now. Roll them around. So like I said, you can do this with chicken stock, you can do this with meat stock, but it's got to be a meat, sort of a stock that thickens as it cooks. You can see what's happening over there. And all we'll do with this is once you're happy with that, we take these out and you've got our pomme parisienne. So there you have it. 4 classic potato dishes, some of which you've probably never seen before, but done. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about, a little masterclass, then do get in touch. We'll see if we can help out right here on the show. But it's time for a quick break now, but join me again in a couple of minutes where Chef Matt Gillan will be treating me to his barbecued monkfish. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, Kimberly Wyatt from the Pussycat Dolls and Dancing on Ice will be cooking for me, surely, but first, a chef who has worked with the likes of Daniel Clifford and Gordon Ramsay before setting up on his own in the stunning Sussex countryside. It's the brilliant Matt Gillan. Yay! Great to have you in the back on the show, Chef. Great to have you back in the house as well.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
So, well, nice to be here. Now, I know you're cooking monkfish and you want to get that on first of all. So, this is a dish that's in your restaurant,
This is a dish we've had on the menu for a little while now, actually. We don't keep a dish on for too long, but it's one of those dishes, you know, when you come across it, it's just, you can't change it because you don't know what to change it to. It has to be better than what you're taking off.
And you take it off and then the customers complain because they came here to taste it.
Exactly. So it's a barbecue monkfish.
Right.
With a kind of molasses and apple juice glaze.
OK, so you're going to get on and talk to us about the glaze in a little minute. But the monkfish itself, we've got another part of the monkfish over here. It's relatively, you've got a bone running down the centre. I'll move this over there. But so Matt's taken this area over here. But there's a little membrane that's on the monkfish you want to remove as well, don't you?
Yeah, so I take that off for this. but I try not to remove too much of the monkfish, you know. So this membrane, I quite like it. It goes quite crispy when you barbecue it.
Yeah.
So we try to keep as much of it on because I think it's a bit of a waste as well.
Okay.
You know? Like you lose so much of it when you take.
Now you've got a restaurant of your own. Now you're thinking.
Yeah, everything's like, what can we use that for? Does that need to go in the bin?
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, just in this glaze, we've got molasses, brown sugar, apple juice, oyster sauce, barbecue sauce.
So all the ingredients that we got over here. So do you mix that together, or is that a boil together?
Just mix together.
Okay.
Mix together, and then the idea is that you know the coals.
So just run through what we've got over there. Then we've got apple juice.
So we've got apple juice, brown sugar, oyster sauce, molasses, brown sauce, and lemon juice.
Okay, sounds pretty good.
Next is the squid.
So tell us about the restaurant then. Where is it? Where can people go taste this?
So we are
before
Heritage.
You take it off the menu.
So Heritage is in a little village called Slotham, and we're based just kind of between Horsham, Haywards Heath, about 10 minutes from Gatwick, 15 minutes from Brighton.
Because I remember seeing on social media when you found this, the excitement that you had over it.
I know, it was bizarre, you know. I heard from someone about this place, you know, this pub that had been closed for a couple of years, and I wasn't really interested in anything at the time. I had no vision to kind of open my own place at the time. And so I dismissed it. And then the next day, literally the next day, someone else mentioned the same place in the same village. I was like, it's like, it can't be coincidence. It's not normal.
Okay.
So I thought, I'll go and check this place out. Let's go and have a look. As soon as I entered the village and saw the pub, I was like, there's something about this. And so I need to somehow try and get my hands on it. Right. And we did. Like, you know, bit of searching through the social medias to find out who owned it. And so
when you're buying a pub like that, it's obviously quite a challenge, but a challenge that, I mean, you as well, Hampshire boy, there's another Hampshire boy that's boy done good as well. Mr. Paul Ainsworth has done all right for himself down there as well. You like a challenge, particularly, I mean, you both worked at Gordon Ramsay's as well. You can see similarities in your career. How do you pick and choose the menu and stuff like that? Because the menus, do you know what? We've kind of just started finding our feet with the menus. Right. So we started with food that I was doing at the past, and it just didn't feel right. It felt like we were cheating, and it was just too complicated what we were doing at the past to then fit in with Heritage. You know, it was a bigger restaurant. The team were brand new, so we have to find another way around this. And how have you found it, really? Is it everything? Well, I mean, trying to open in a pandemic and it's been a nightmare. We all know it's been a nightmare. But is it you know, that initial, the buzz when you first get a place of your own and you take a big risk and you're there on a busy night and it's full? It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. You love it. And, you know, you kind of poke your head out the kitchen or you kind of run a dish to the table and then they want a chat and someone else wants a chat and, you know, and they're telling you about their experience that they're having at that moment. Yeah. And that's what they're talking about, you know, and it's not talking about any dramas they've had or, you know, it's purely about the experience that they're having and it absolutely makes it worthwhile.
That monkfish is a great way to cook it like that. It's brilliant.
And this glaze just protects that fish as well. You know, you can, when it's kind of naked, you kind of dries it out or you know, can overcook it a bit. Monkfish, it takes a lot to overcook a piece of monkfish. And just that glaze just keeps it stops it drying out and kind of going a bit rubbery around the outside.
That's beautiful. So this is just the caramelised onions in there now?
This is caramelised onions.
I love squid. Last minute.
Very minimal salt as well used in this dish.
Yeah. So you open 7 days a week then?
No, we just open three and a half at the moment. So we're open, we'll close as much as we're open. It's something we've kind of adjusted with the pandemic. But actually, it works really nicely for the team.
Yeah.
It
gives them time off.
Gives them time off. It condenses everything to, just a few days.
Yeah.
And so it just makes us busy rather than spreading trade across those days.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, we're in the countryside. It's a bit different.
Yeah. You might be a little bit busy after this, I can tell you that, because this smells pretty amazing. That's great. Happy with that?
Yeah. It's quite a generous portion, this one.
It's quite often I get asked about chefs and how can you tell? You can tell a chef the way that they work. It's kind of it only comes from another chef or somebody that would understand, but the way you actually plate stuff and work is just I don't know, the way that they touch food and hold food. It's interesting. It's just, that's the way it is, but love this. That looks amazing. Perfectly. Look at that. You've done that before, haven't you?
Once or twice. Yeah.
Perfect. Look at that.
I think that's the beauty of the monkfish as well. It just retains that moisture.
Oh, it's just stunning.
So then just to top that off with the tiniest bit. So this is lime pickle.
So this is lime pickle.
Jar of lime pickle. We've just blended it down.
So this is a jar of lime pickle. You just blitzed it.
Yeah, just like that's it. I mean,
I love it.
That's all we need. Your almonds on top.
And you're working on a new book, is that right?
I am, yeah. So this book was supposed to come out kind of last year, but it's about heritage, and it's just tricky writing a book about a restaurant that may not reopen. So, so I kind of parked it for a little bit.
Right.
And like I was saying, these, rather than kind of picking up on dishes I've done before, heritage needed to be its own kind of character. And
well, it certainly is.
So like this is...
it certainly is. That looks, and I tell you what, that smells amazing. So give us the name of this dish.
This is a barbecue monkfish, squid fricassee, tomato fondue, and madras almonds.
That smells amazing. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much. Cracking dish, that, mate. Right, I'm looking forward to this. It smells unbelievable. It smells incredible. So you say you don't want to take this off on the menu. You can't take it off on the menu.
It's not that I don't want to take it off. It's just really tricky. Really tricky to replace it.
But a lot of work that goes into this, though. That's the thing. Last minute you got the squid, but tremendous amount of work with the tomatoes.
Just a monkfish curry, isn't it?
No, it's not a monkfish curry, though, is it? Matt, I'm going to say that is the best dish I've tasted on this show for a long, long time.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Just talk to your ex-boss, Daniel Clifford, because this was the second best dish, but the flavour of that's unbelievable. The tomatoes and the lime pickle, great dish. Matt Gillan, everybody. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Right, we've got time for one more final dish, so join me after the break when Pussycat doll Kimberly Wyatt will be taking over the kitchen duties. Tough job here, isn't it?
So tough.
Exactly, it's really tough. See you in a bit. Welcome back to the last part of the show. Now I'm back in the kitchen with my guest, the one and only Kimberly Wyatt. Yeah! You were dancing then. You were moving then.
It calms my nerves. It calms my nerves.
You're gonna need it for this bit, I tell you.
Exactly.
I'm gonna need it because I got a phone call about this bit, and this is highly unusual, really. This has only ever happened once before. Once before on this show, when Mr. Chris Evans decided that he wanted to cook for me and made a complete Horlicks of it. All right? So what we're going to do is let you loose in the kitchen, and I'm looking forward to this actually.
Yeah.
Because winner of MasterChef.
This is true.
It is true. Confidence running through your veins at this point in time.
Feel that confident?
And I have to say, I like
Cute little
the
penny.
the penny is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm not the way I get away with it, but the penny is pretty cool.
I'll let you borrow it if you'd
Thank
like.
you. I maybe not look the same on used as it on me, but so what are you going to be doing then?
So I'm doing a bit of a chicken pot pie, something that I definitely grew up with, and especially with 3 kids, I just need family meals is what I can get away with at the minute. So I'm going to start with a bit of butter in the pan.
Yeah.
Let that sizzle away.
Yeah. So that's going to go. So what have you got in there now first?
These are my button mushrooms I'm adding in. My carrots.
So where does this come from? This comes from your childhood, your folks? Where does this come from?
Very much my childhood. My grandmother, this would be something my grandmother would make. Nice, hearty soul food.
Yeah.
And yeah, like since winning MasterChef, I love to cook at home and I want to do like the big risottos and things, but my kids will never eat it. So for the time being, until they're a bit older, I just got to go with the good sort of hearty meals that I know that they'll love.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Right. So you're just softening that then, yeah?
Just soften it, making those flavors melt together, as you know.
Yeah.
As you know. Just letting them soften.
So is the thickening agent of this the flour? Is that?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to add some lovely onions.
Yeah. Now tell us about, I mean, we've got to mention the Pussycat dolls anyway, but out of all the things you've done,
yeah,
there's got to be you're looking forward to the world tour and that's going to be amazing, but there must have been for you all a pinch yourself moment.
Definitely.
I was reading about it. Wasn't the Elton John thing was one of those?
I mean, Elton John was pretty epic. Because it wasn't planned. Like, we were at Fashion Rocks in New York on the stage, all these models. Elton John's on the piano singing. We're there singing with him, which was amazing. But I was like, this is your moment. So I danced on over, sat on the back of the chair with Elton John and just was having it with him. And it was just like a moment to remember for the rest of my life, for sure.
Now, I don't know whether anybody told you, but I've got a bit of a turkey and me. The story goes, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't like turkey if it's served to me whole.
Yeah.
As that's the meal and that's what you have.
You're anti-turkey.
No, this I have to say. This I have to say.
Yeah.
You're already ahead of the game.
Okay.
Doing what you're doing
okay.
now.
All right. Okay, good. Okay. Mixing it with lots of other flavors. It's not just the turkey. It's
exactly. Well, you're also turning it into stuff that's not just, it's a pie, which is great.
Everybody loves a pie, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just adding a bit of flour to thicken up the sauce, make it really lovely and gorgeous. And give that a nice stir.
Yeah.
Have you ever made a chicken pot pie or a turkey pot pie?
Do you know what? I've had them.
Yes.
I've had them
You've never made them.
Never made one like this. No, never made one like this. You make pies all over the place.
Yeah.
But the topping is quite a different thing, isn't it? What you're going to be using. It's like a scone mixture. It's a bit of a... Yeah, the topping is different.
Biscuits. So this is like where I grew up. It's all about biscuits. We have biscuits and gravy for breakfast, which is so epic, and nobody's ever really heard of it.
So tell us about this topping then, because I know you're going to leave that to just gently simmer away there. But...
Yes, so I'm going to let that thicken up. And for the topping...
This is the biscuit bit.
This is the biscuit bit. This is the magic bit.
Okay.
I do love to bake. That was probably my first love, which is one of the reasons I love this little recipe. So it's basically just flour, milk, baking soda, a little bit of lemon zest, put all together, and you fold it into a tray, which I've got here. But the thing is that when you put the butter into the flour, you have to do it with your fingers, very gently, just a little bit at a time, to make it really nice and flaky, which is that like buttery, biscuity situation that I miss from my childhood.
All right.
So I'm bringing it to the UK in hopes that you guys embrace it.
I have to say, this is not like a puff pastry or anything like. It's not like. It's certainly not like a pastry as we know it. It creates this really unique topping. I think.
Yes.
That's the key to it.
So I like this bit is where you just fold it a bit like a business letter, and this is what sort of helps give it a nice crummy, biscuity top.
Right.
You're just going to kind of lay that out in a nice big circle.
Fold it like a business letter. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. It's a technical term, really.
Yeah. Tax return.
Begrudgingly. So once we got that done, this is nice and cooked up.
Yeah.
Sauce is nice and thick. There we go. So we've got the lovely base of our stew, really.
Yeah.
And this gorgeous bit is going to go on top.
And that's what I like about this, because it doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because the kids are going to ruin it anyway, so just embrace that fact. Put a nice little hole in the middle.
Yeah.
And then into the oven it goes.
Happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
So how long do you cook this for then?
So, well, usually about 220 for a good 40 minutes, 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the oven. I have an auger at home.
Right.
Which is really fun to cook with.
Yeah.
But the timings are always just a little bit different. Yeah. But
we used to have an auger at home. We used to warm the sheep up.
Yeah.
Not the sheep to our Sunday lunch, the real sheep.
Did you?
Yeah, you put
Set them by the auger?
Yeah, because if they separate from the mums, you need to keep them warm. So you put them in. Just done up the wrong door. Yeah. Left-hand door. You were always taught left-hand door. There you go. Right.
And here,
we've
got the finished chicken pot pie.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that. Yeah.
Gorgeous and golden for the family.
Right. It's the crust. I do remember the crust in the States. It's the crust.
Biscuit.
The biscuit.
Biscuit's such a different thing there.
It's a biscuit.
Does it look gorgeous?
Happy with that?
Yeah.
Go on, I know you want to wipe the plate. Go on. I know you want to. Go on, wipe the plate. Wipe the plate.
Like a true chef.
So Kimberly, give us the name of this dish.
So this is a chicken pot pie.
That's what it is. Go on then. I'm looking forward to tasting this.
No, the moment of truth.
There you go. Yeah, that's good. Good.
Enjoy.
Have a glass. You might need that. There you go. No, you won't. You won't. You did amazing.
Thank you.
And it is about this crust. You say so. It's biscuit. You call it. Mm-hmm. Right.
Biscuit. Nice flaky biscuit. That's what this country needs. That's what it's missing.
You're waiting to hear, aren't you?
Oh my God, the tension!
Whether it's... So Chris Evans made me a dish, and he made me I think it was pasta. And I never want to eat that again.
Yeah? You don't give much
this
away.
You can come back.
Oh.
This is delicious. It's really nice. Well done. There's a reason why you won MasterChef. This is it.
Well, that means a lot. Thank you.
All right.
James Martin just ate my food.
Great. It's great. It's great. Thank you very much. Kimberly, everybody. How cool is that? Well, that's it. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to all my guests, Alysia Vasey, Paul Rankin, Matt Gillan, and, of course, the fabulous Kimberly Wyatt. Yeah. Good luck with Dancing Eyes. Good luck.
Thank you.
There you have it. We'll see you back here same time next Saturday morning. We'll be joined by Chefs Dipna Anand and James Cochran, and Karen Gibson and Len Dennis and Sherry Houston will be here. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.